Hello and welcome to day 63. Today is a grow day, so if you're following the plan, you know what to do. So in today's video, I wanted to cover some advice that I was giving a young bodybuilder that I train who was looking to increase his presence on social media and build into that social media, fitness modeling, bodybuilding game. So he's got a lot of potential, awesome guy, but I had to make sure I warned him about some of these things that I faced when I was younger and coming up in the fitness industry. So here are some things to beware. Let me start off by telling you a story. When I was a young warthog, Lion King reference there, sorry. No, when I was young and first getting into the fitness industry, I was fairly naive to this whole game, and the whole online thing was just starting to really roll. So Instagram had already become popular, Facebook had been going on for a while, but the whole online fitness industry presence was still really growing. So it was fairly new, definitely not the big deal that it was now. And being young and naive and very eager to prove myself and get into the fitness industry and become the next top professional bodybuilder, as all young bodybuilders think, I was very eager to land a sponsorship opportunity. So I was reached out to by this person on Facebook who went under the name Heather Jacobs. Now, if there's a real Heather Jacobs out here, obviously this video is not bashing them, but this fake profile had this lady who apparently worked for the Gold's Gym corporate office. And when I checked out her profile, like had all the right listings under there, she was friends with several of the top professional bodybuilders. So I thought, hey, this has to be legit, right? And she, have no idea if it was even a she, reached out to me and explained that they would be interested in sponsoring me through Gold's Gym, giving me $500 a month and up to $200 a month worth of free apparel in exchange for representing their brand and doing a few things for their company. Now, here's where it gets a little shady, but being young, naive, and very eager to prove myself in the industry, I didn't recognize these red flags. But they reached out to me and they were like, hey, we'd like to set up a FaceTime call and we would like to go over your physique and just make sure you're in good enough shape to represent our brand and yada yada. So I agreed to that, got on a Skype call, and the first red flag popped up, and that was that Heather Jacobs' camera was not working. So I had no way to verify if the person on the other side of the camera was the actual person in the Facebook profile. But again, young, I always like to think the best in people, so I was like, okay, that can happen. Cameras cannot work. Red flag number two, and this is where you might think that I was a little dumb rather than just naive, and maybe I was, but again, I like to think the best in people, and that was that the microphone wasn't working. So the whole system was glitched, and they were like, hey, that's okay. I can just type out my message to you, and then you can respond. I can see you fine on the camera and can hear you just fine. I was like, oh, okay, that works out great then. So this is probably a good indicator that the person on the other end was not even female. So Heather Jacobs was probably a dude. So they start off by typing to go through like the quarter turns and do different flexing and posing and like bring out the pump and all sorts of things like that. Which now looking back, I know much more how people talk through my DMs and what people are looking for. And that is not at all a professional interaction over Skype or FaceTime with a corporate person. They would never ask you to just strip down to posing trunks and start flexing for them and like get up close to the camera and bring out your veins and all sorts of just odd things. But to me, I was like, hey, this is what bodybuilders do. We pose, we show off our muscles. That makes sense. They want me to be in good shape and all that good stuff. So they're like, okay, yeah, you look great. That call, if you can call it that, lasted about 20, 30 minutes and then ended. They were like, yes, we'd like to bring you on board. So about a week later, they reached out and they were like, okay, we're processing your stuff. It's almost through. And to make a long story short, they, whoever it was interested in getting me a magazine deal with Muscle and Fitness and demonstrating some sort of plank variation exercise. So we spent the next week, every couple of days we'd go on and I would practice this plank demonstration exercise for Heather Jacobs. And of course, the microphone and camera was never working. And they were eventually like, okay, we're flying in with a camera crew. We would like to meet you at this gym and do the shoot with you, explaining the plank exercise. So I was like, great, chance to be in my first magazine. Long story short, of course, the plane got delayed and the camera equipment got lost and the photo shoot never happened. And by that time, I realized what was going on and that it was all a con, and learned my lesson the hard way. I was pretty devastated. I was very young at the time, very naive and impressionable, but I learned my lesson that people reaching out to you very oftentimes do not have good intentions. If they do, make sure you research them, make sure that they are legit, and watch out for those red flags. Camera's not working on FaceTime, microphone's not working. They want you to do these weird, unprofessional things that would not happen in an actual interview with an athlete. And of course, not holding up their end of a bargain. And because of course I never did get paid, Heather Jacobs actually had the audacity to reach out to me a few months later after it just started ignoring messages and was like, oh, we're still interested in you. And at that point, I was like, yeah, sure, block. So anyway, things are not always what they seem. Don't be too desperate and naive to jump straight into stardom to the point where you avoid red flags and start allowing yourself to be puppeted around to creeps. So even though I feel a little silly telling that story of how naive I was when I was younger, I do want to share it with you because I'm sure that a lot of young up-and-coming influencers are getting messages similar to that, and people who are trying to take advantage of them and their impressionableness by promising them things like money and sponsorships and deals. And some people may even go through on their promise and actually send money over. But do not sell your soul to the point where a creep is just going to start taking advantage of you, and eventually things are going to lead down a very sketchy or very weird path. There are so many other things for a young fitness influencer to be aware of and need to watch out for in the fitness industry, especially as an up-and-coming young influencer. But for the sake of the length of this video, I'll just touch on one more in this, and that is you need to be aware that there are going to be both a lot of supporters, but also a lot of trolls and haters that you're going to have to deal with when you are establishing a social media presence. So mentally, you're going to have to prepare yourself ahead of time for what you're going to get into. The vast majority of people who are going to follow you on social media are going to be supportive and encouraging, especially if you're an honest, friendly, and genuine individual looking to provide good information and motivation for everyone. But you will also run into your share of trolls, doubters, and haters. And of course, those are the ones that are easy to stick into your mind and get you discouraged and anxious and overthinking things and wanting to cater your posts to either proving those trolls wrong or showing them up or whatever it may be. So don't allow yourself to get wrapped up into that game. Almost all of the time, those people are just looking to pick a war with you. Those people just want a response in the comments. They want to start something going on, whether it makes them feel better about a sad life that they have, or they just get their kicks out of getting in an online argument. I have no idea. I've never had the mentality of a troll. But my advice is do not respond to them. Delete the comments. If need be, if it goes too far, block them, but do not engage a troll. You can also laugh off some silly little comments, like if somebody makes an accusation your way saying that you're enhanced if you're not, or you are, I don't know. Whatever the case may be, you can just send laughing emojis and brush it off. And then if they try and pursue it and push it too much further, you can delete and or block. But my advice is do not fall for the trolls. Do not play their game. Do not stoop down to their level. I see so many times when people try and defend themselves or defend their favorite bodybuilders against a keyboard warrior, and you're just giving them what they want. They're not going to use logic. They're not going to use reason. They're not even going to have good arguments. They just want to argue. So don't give them what they want, and learn how to just let that roll off your back. When I was coming into this, I was a people pleaser, so it took me a while to learn not to care what other people think who are just trolls. So I still want to bless people with good information. I still want to be a positive, encouraging force in the fitness industry, but you can't spend so much time caring about what people think about you and trying to cater your content to them, because then you yourself won't be happy with what you're doing. You have to find what you love, pursue it with a passion, focus on that, and the people who will respond to that will be your people. They'll be your loyal followers for life. So like I said, this is just touching on a lot of things to be aware of as a young fitness influencer coming up in this industry. So if you want me to make a video on more of these topics, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I hope this helped some of you guys, and I encourage you, keep pursuing, don't get discouraged, don't let people sidetrack you if this is really your passion. Use your creativity and you can make it happen one way or another. So thank you so much for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's.